All right, I'm not going to even bore y'all with a lot of preamble. Y'all see who we got in the building. Carlos, so much is going on. Where do I
Hi,
start?
Richie and the Skye Squad. What's going on, child?
Well, you gonna tell us, okay?
Look, Richie. Am I?
Oh, I don't know. He might not, but you know what? We gonna doggone well sure try.
Not
Okay.
gonna ask me anyway, child. Go ahead.
Oh, we are. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead and get this out the way because everybody wants to know, and I'm not even gonna like cut any cards with this. What's up with the Encore season 2? Who's on it?
You starting off hot. I love it. Richie, you know how much I always say what? I love my job. The worst part about it is I can't tell y'all stuff because I will get in trouble. Because unlike other people we know, I don't leak stuff. And
Carlos, who is leaking?
Every time I'm with you, I get shady and messy. No. Anyways, all I'll say is and you know this about me, I want to tell y'all everything that I got going on. I really do. I'm at the mercy of the network, so I can't say much. But one thing I will say is, look, I get asked more about, no, you know what's so funny? The two shows I get asked about the most, The Encore and Hollywood Divas. Like, bring it back. Bring it all back.
Listen, why can't y'all find a way to make that happen? We're gonna still go back to the Encore, but since we took this detour, that was good TV. And I feel like it was ahead of its time.
No, listen, I feel like the story of my life, especially when it comes to my shows, have always been a hit of its time. And Hollywood Divas and the Next 15 are no exceptions to that. So listen, I will say this. I love what I do so much, and I love talking to you, and I love getting feedback from the Skye Squad and the Raindrops and everyone else in between, that I am here to entertain you guys. And always know that when I'm silent is because I'm working on something.
Okay, so that's all we're gonna get.
That's all you gonna get, Richie. You're about to get me in trouble, honey. I got mortgage and car note and life insurance and a dog to take care of.
And it sounds like you got the Lord because you got a new show coming out. Okay, it's Grown and Gospel on WeTV coming out in March. How did this come about? Tell me, give me the, just the basic, like, how did it even, where did this come from?
That's a very good question. So one thing about me, I always try to stay in tune. This may sound deep for y'all, but y'all know I'm a little deep, a little something.
Let's go.
So I literally, this is how I create shows, right? I allow myself to be still and present, and I listen. I listen to conversations. I listen to what people want out of life, and I talk to everyday people, because I don't create shows for celebrities or for other people. I create shows for the real people who really, Richie, like to sit at home and be entertained. That's it. So long story short, I was talking to somebody who was a part of the gospel community. And he was like, you need to do a show with folks in the gospel world. And I was like, I actually do. And we were talking, and I was like, you know what? Do you know anybody who would do it? And he named one person. And I was like, oh, I know him. And that person was Elijah Connor, who is the guy from The Four with Puff Daddy. And he had that stare down with Puffy. Yeah. And I said, I know him. And I spoke to him. And long story short, the way I cast shows, as much as possible, I wanted to be with real friends, not where everybody sort of comes together and they don't know each other, because that doesn't work. And I learned the hard way that it doesn't work. So because he is not a gospel artist, but he's from Detroit, which is my hometown, I said, Eureka, I want to do something with the gospel community in Detroit, because I always wanted to give back to my hometown. And because of that, he was like, oh, I'm friends with so-and-so. And that person said, I'm friends with so-and-so. And all of a sudden, it became like a show about these childhood friends in Detroit, Michigan. And when I say childhood, they've been friends, some of them since elementary schools, excuse me, and some of them since middle school. But they're a clique. Like, they all know each other. Their mamas and daddies know each other. They would spend the night at each other's house. Some of them used to date each other back in high school. That's how connected this cast is. And I said, how dope would it be to do a show about the offspring of gospel royalty? And for the record, it's not about growing up gospel. You know what I mean? It's not about right. Everybody the daughter, son of. It's about the fact that some of them are, but it's really about the fact that they all grew up together. And they are showing the world, just because we grew up in this faith-based world as kids, it doesn't mean that all of us followed the Bible. And they all have their own individual lives. And it's unearthing a lot of deep stuff that, as Black folks, I'm spiritual, I know you are too, where you just don't talk about it. And they are brave enough to talk about it, but not in a salacious way. And I want people to know that I'm very spiritual, and God is the reason why I'm here. I'm never going to disrespect God and the Lord. My pastor, Torrey and Sarah Jakes Roberts, I'm not going to disrespect them. So it's not a show where we're making fun of the gospel community or trying to talk badly about them. None of us want to do that, which is why Dorinda Clark Cole is a part of the show in terms of her daughter. So Dorinda makes appearances. Lisa Page, Lockhart makes appearances. We are really talking about some deep stuff. Fred Hammond's daughter is on the show. So and these are childhood friends. And WeTV loved it and said, this is what we want, child. And I said, well, here you go.
I love it, because that was gonna be my question. How do you determine which net? Do you think in your head ahead of time, oh, I think this will be good for this network, or what is that process like? Because I think a lot of people don't really know how that works. If you can demystify that for us.
Yes, no, that's a great question, because I know a lot of people think I'm exclusive to OWN, because I do have a lot of shows on OWN, and I have an amazing relationship with everybody at OWN, and I love my own family. But obviously the encore is on BET, so I'm able to create shows for other networks. So when Grown in Gospel, now that's the title, was being developed, the way my thought process is with my team, we always say, if this show can't be pitched at more than 4 networks, let's not do it. Because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So with Grown in Gospel, we pitched it around to various networks, and WeTV was like, this is what we need and what we want. While the other networks were like, maybe, I don't know, let's think about it. And when it came to WeTV, obviously they have an audience who likes to understand the backstory of a genre in music. They did Mary Mary, which was excellent television, so they understand the gospel community. So it was just a perfect marriage.
Okay, that makes sense. And also, not that they're faith-based per se, but the Braxtons also were on WeTV. So I feel like that sort of familial element, I think, kind of goes hand in hand with what they are sort of used to putting out there for us to consume.
Yes, that's a good point.
That makes sense. Let's get into some shows that are currently on. Okay. And I want to start with Love and Marriage Huntsville. Okay.
Yes, 3-part reunion has all aired, and just when I thought the show could not get any bigger, or the fans could not have any more opinions. I was wrong.
Oh,
ask
yes,
away, Richie.
okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you feel any pressure when you are trying to ask questions of each cast member to not go there? Like because you ask questions that really, I mean, you get into the questions with them. You do not let them escape. Do you feel pressure from any of them to maybe hold back? And what do you do in that instance?
No, I don't feel any pressure to hold back. It's funny because what I said earlier about my process in creating shows, how I sit still and I allow the universe and God and people to speak to me. And then I'm like, okay, let me process it and figure out what to create. I do the same thing when I approach my reunion shows, right?
Mm.
I'm there to do a job for the audience. My approach is, and there's going to be some deep stuff, but hear me out. It's a privilege to be a host of a reunion. I don't take that job for granted. I know that people like to compare me to other people, and we'll talk about that later. But for me, I really studied journalism. I majored in journalism in college. I worked, well, not worked intern, but same thing, worked intern. I interned with Barbara Walters at 2020 and The View and Primetime Live and MTV News. I studied this genre of mass communication. So when I got the privilege to host Hollywood Divas Reunion, our first season on TV One, what people don't know, Richie, is I never pitched myself to host. And I think a lot of people think exactly. I don't pitch myself. This is the honest to God truth. When Hollywood, and I'm going to get back to Huntsville, but I'm going to take you on a journey. Because I think your audience should know this.
Let's go. Let's go.
When I created Hollywood Divas, you know this about me. I'm about to work. I'm like this. Child, I don't care what y'all say. It's the work. Get away from me. It's the work. So long story short, we were asked by the network to come up with names to host Hollywood Divas Reunion. So you know me, I think big. I'm like, I want Whoopi Goldberg because she's a Black actress in Hollywood. Richie, I'm like, I want Whoopi Goldberg. And I had like this list of people. I had like Black actors in Hollywood because I wanted to make sure that we represented the Hollywood elite.
Yeah.
That Carlos King, Whoopi Goldberg, and about to host this reunion. And me being naive, they ain't. So I will never forget this. The network called and said, we have an idea. We would like for you to host it. Mind you, Richie, I never hosted a thing in my life, meaning a reunion. I said, me? They said yes, because you are the diva whisperer. This cast loves you. Because they're actors, they're guarded by nature. You're the only person that can get things out of them because they're comfortable around you. And look, you got a nice personality and all that stuff, but you should do it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Okay, fine. And the rest is history. So when you think about Huntsville, think about it. I didn't host season 1 reunion because I did not pitch myself, right? I pitched Egypt Sherrod because I said, Black woman in real estate, I think this will work. And I also pitched Egypt Sherrod to host the first season of Bell Collective because I don't think about myself. Long story short, what happened was Egypt had a prior commitment, and I once again, I'm gonna tell you how I pitch. So I said Egypt's unavailable. I want Iyanla Vanzant to host. Yes, that's what I think big. I'm like, child, I want Iyanla. They said Carlos, child. Okay. Iyanla is doing other stuff, child. So they all said to me, why don't you do it? And I said, okay, same reason. The cast loves you. You'll get stuff out of them, blah, 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 blah. So I did it. And the way I approach it is I'm a journalist. I don't think about the cast being uncomfortable because I feel like when you sign up to do a reality show or to be a celebrity, you have to understand that your job is to be authentic to the audience. It's not fair to the audience to buy into you and you not give them what they want in terms of your real life. That's all they're asking for. So I only care about making sure that I do my job because I know people are thinking like, child, he's trying to be so-and-so, or child, he only got that job because he pitched himself. None of that is true. And I wanted to prove to the world that I know how to do my job. And after I tape Richie for 15 hours, I wake up again. So when I'm taping, I black out because my focus is on the work. And then when I watch the episodes, I'm like, I said that. I'm gonna give you one more thing. I know I'm talking long. I'm gonna give you one more thing.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I was watching part 2 reunion because I think Richie, I tape, then I go and do my other jobs. I got other stuff to do. So I'm watching part 2 reunion, and I said, "Hey, Destiny, so next to you is a pillow, not a man." And I said, "Carlos King, what is Richie?" I forgot I said that, but that goes to show you I black out because I focus on
we
work.
were crying, laughing, watching that. I got to tell you, we were crying, laughing. Does anybody call to curse you out afterwards? I mean, not that they were there, but do they get mad? Like,
no. I think because they know my heart, and that's why I only care about making sure I do my job. And secondly, and most importantly, truly making sure my cast is good. They don't. After we taped that reunion before it aired, because some people like to read comments and all of a sudden have an attitude. I'm like, child, you were fine before it aired, and you were actually there. So please, after we taped it, maybe 3 weeks later, I went to Huntsville to have a meeting with them. We were good. Nobody brought it up. We were all laughing and joking, but that's how it works. Like, no one cared. Now, I'm also not an idiot, and I've been doing this for 15 years. People sometimes get affected because of what the fans say. Carlos trying to do this to you. And I think sometimes they believe it. Not saying that's the case with this cast. I'm not saying that, although maybe some of them do that. But but all I will say to you is when we leave that stage, we left everything on the stage and we don't bring it home with us until most people read the comments. And then all of a sudden they say to me, well, I did feel like you were too tough with that question. And I'm like, okay, child.
And you're moving on.
I don't give it any life.
Boom. That's such a good you have what I do love about you is you have been consistent with that philosophy in not giving things life. And that is something I take away from our conversations all the time. I do want to ask you, just because it blew my mind, and I just wanted to get your input on it. The phone hacking.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make of that conversation?
I'm still confused.
Okay. I just had to ask because I was like, what?
Yeah, because it's one of those things where I never hacked anyone's phone. So I just said to you 5 seconds ago, I'm a journalist. I'm not a hacker. So I don't know how the hacking process works. So when they said you hacked my phone, but you messed it up, so my calls went to this day, I'm still confused. I don't get it. I don't understand it, which is why I think you guys saw me do a lot of this because I was so lost by it. But obviously, Melody alleges that Martell hacked her phone and that he must have paid the person the person he allegedly paid must have done it wrong, because instead of making sure that he can listen in on Mel's calls allegedly, that Melody would receive calls from people who were calling Martell. So all of that, even right now on January 18th at 3:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm still lost, dazed, and confused. I don't know what really happened, but it also goes to show you that they have, and when I say they, meaning Martell and Melody, they truly do have a lot to work on in terms of their relationship with each other, because and this is me, I wasn't married to these people for 14 years, so my opinion may not matter. I just don't see anyone hacking anyone's phone, but that's me. That's me. And I could be wrong.
I want to get your thoughts on some kind of rapid fire things, and you just tell me like what you think. First thing, where do you see Destiny going next season with her now telling us that she's going to be an open book?
Well, look, I think Destiny has to live up to what she says and give that to the audience. And one thing about me, I welcome my cast to be an open book. But I also know that sometimes time may not be on your side, or sometimes you really in your own life may not be ready to do that. And I respect that. One thing about me and my relationship with my cast, we don't force them to talk about stuff. You know, one thing I do say to them though is, you did sign up to do a reality show, show your reality. And I think that's because we all have a job. It's sort of like being a telemarketer and you show up to work saying, "Child, I don't feel like calling these folks today. I don't feel like doing it." Your boss would say, "But this is your job." You can't get away saying, "Child, I ain't got time to tele or market. I'm tired." You will get fired on the spot, right? What bothers me is people take advantage of being on a reality show. So you mad that we're the production, we're asking you to show your real life. And you say to us, "I don't want to show that." And that's why I was so compassionate and passionate about Kimmy. We have a woman who's going through breast cancer, chemo, stood on that stage for 15 hours, Richie, never once asked for a break, never once said, "Do you mind if I go back to the room to take a nap?" Because I would have done anything she wanted, because I would have understood. My mom passed from breast cancer. I know that sometimes you're tired. You get sleepy when you're going through chemo, especially. I would have given Kimmy anything she wanted. Richie, she never once asked for anything. She did not complain. How dare any reality star moving forward complain about giving their real lives? Kimmy set the gold standard of how a reality star shows up and gives what they're able to give. And I'm telling you, Kimmy changed my perspective on reality television, in the sense of I'm not playing with people anymore. I'm at the point in my career where it's a privilege to be on a Carlos King produced show, which is why my DMs are flooded with applications, child, that I haven't even distributed. I can tell you 95% of former and current reality stars beg me to give them a show. And I'm not saying that to sound cute. It's right. A lot of blue checks are in my DMs begging for me to take them off their current show and put them on mine. Because what they noticed is Carlos loves his cast, and he makes sure that your businesses are at the forefront. And he makes sure that whether or not you have a messy life, we're going to show the messy life, but we're also going to make sure that you are able to tell it your way and do it in a way that also promotes your business. And that's the reason why I'm at this point in my career where I'm not begging anybody anymore to do their job. If you don't want to do it, then bow out gracefully and allow other people on the show to do their job. And don't cloud the production, because the last thing I would say is 99% of the time, the producers and the crew members, that's the camera operators, the audio people, you know, Richie, you've been around production and been on a reality show. The crew is leaving their families at home.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Huntsville, Jackson, DC, Atlanta. You know, not everyone lives in LA, and I'm sorry, not everyone who lives in LA and New York is fortunate to have a job in that city. So they have to travel and leave their families to work on shows to feed their household. How dare you disrespect the crew who's there to do a job, and you show up and complain, you show up late, you don't want to talk, you don't want to do anything, and you expect me to feel sorry for you when you sign up to do the job. Say to me, Carlos, this isn't for me. And I would say, good, because now I can make sure that those 127 folks in my DMs, maybe one of them can have your opportunity.
Well,
Richie, you're a mess.
You know, in my mind, the first thing you said when you said that, I was like, well, I want to. What's the list look like? Is anybody promising? You know what I'm saying? Love and Marriage Atlanta. But
you and the world wants Atlanta Love and Marriage. I know that.
I mean, it. You know what's funny? It may not be the next best city, because I like what happened with Huntsville because it was out of the blue. You know, I like what happened with Bell Collective, out of the blue. Grown in Gospel, honestly, out of the blue. So yeah. I'm almost to the point where I'm like, give me out of the blue. But I know that we got some talent left over in Atlanta that somebody needs to do something with.
We do. I will say this. You know, I tell you everything, Richie, that I can. And behind the scenes, I do. No, I'll say this much. I'm not, as of right now, I'm not interested in Love and Marriage Atlanta and doing one in Atlanta. As of right now.
Okay.
Only because I feel like what you said, there's so many other territories with successful Black people that I want to show the world that us as Black successful people, we live all over the world. And I want to be able to continue to be a disruptor in this business and show you other sides of Black people outside of Atlanta. Because I think it's at the point now, child, I think the world really thought, if you Black and got money, you live in Atlanta. And it's like, girl, no, there's other places. I want to surprise people, Richie. I don't want to do the expected. So as of right now, Carlos King, I'm going on record saying, as of right now, I really am not interested in taking Love and Marriage to Atlanta. Not right now. Yeah.